Greetings, statistics scholars, and welcome to this next video in our series from chapter number 2. In this video, we'll be taking a look at how we can use technology to help perform calculations for quantitative variables. And in particular, we'll be taking a look at the StatKey app that is provided with our textbook. Here we see the table of information about the Pittsburgh Steelers from the 2018 season. This gives information about their offensive performance, and we can see if we look at the very final column of information, there's a variable there on the number of first downs that were achieved in each game by the Steelers. And so we can see that in most of those games, they attained somewhere in the realm of about 20 first downs per game. Some were a little lower, around 15 or 17. Some were a little higher, like one game where they had 28. Suppose we were interested in determining what were the mean and the median number of first downs that were achieved over all 16 games. Well, we'll take a look at the first down data set. If we arrange that data in increasing order from least to greatest, we can see those numbers there. And by inspecting the smaller data set, it's not too hard to see that the median value is 19.5 first downs, and the population mean, mu, ends up being 19.8125. Now that's a smaller data set, not too hard to find the mean and the median pretty readily with our calculators just by doing some additions, etc. But what if we have a larger data set to analyze? What if instead of 16 data values, we had 40 or 100? In cases like that, it can certainly be helpful to use technology to help us calculate those values for us. And fortunately, there's quite a variety of different tools available for us on the technology side. And one of those is a wonderful web app that is called StatKey that goes along with our text. So let's take a look here at how we can use the StatKey app to find values like medians and means and other things for data sets of interest to us. So the StatKey app, you can see here, is available on the web at the address that you see there at the top of your screen, lock5stat.com/StatKey. And this is a wonderful tool that we should be using throughout the course. You'll see in the first column here, there is a column that says descriptive statistics and graphs. And the very first option there says one quantitative variable. Well, that's certainly what we have when we're talking about the first downs of the Steelers, a single quantitative variable. So let's click on that. And it's going to bring up a quantitative data set. Now, one of the wonderful things about StatKey is that every one of the important data sets from your textbook actually has been, you might say, plugged into StatKey. So if you want to do some analysis of, say, the mammal longevity data set from chapter number 2, you can see, for example, there's a dot plot of that mammal longevity data set. And here's a histogram for that data set. And off on the right-hand side, we can see the summary statistics. We see the mean and the median and other things, other values like the standard deviation that we're focusing in on later in chapter number 2. StatKey gives us a wonderful way very quickly of making visualizations like dot plots and histograms, and also for reading off summary statistics for data sets. As I said, they have the data sets from your textbook plugged in already, and if you go to this menu on the left, you can easily switch between different data sets. If you're analyzing a data set for a homework exercise that you're doing, you may want to make sure to take some time to see if that data set isn't already over here. But in our case, we want to take a look at the Steelers data set. So how can we do analysis for a data set of our own? Well, what we're going to do is go to the Edit Data button. Oops, sorry. Actually, we're going to go to the Upload File button. Edit Data would let us change the data about the mammal longevity. But if I go to the Upload File button, I can look for a data file that I might have, for example, on my desktop. And you can see here I've got a file on the desktop dealing with the Steelers' first downs. Now notice for a minute, it's very important to realize that this file that I created in Microsoft Excel has been saved in the CSV format, comma separated values. I'm going to double click on that. And you can see here is that data set that I had created. The StatKey is going to ask me to confirm which variable I'm analyzing. If you create an Excel file that has more than one column, it'll always ask you which particular column you're interested in. Here we had only one, first downs, so I'm going to click on that and then say OK. And there we have it. There is our data set has been loaded in. And isn't that wonderful? We can see a dot plot of our data set. We can see a histogram for our data set. And we can make a box plot, which is something also that you'll be reading about this week. We can make those wonderful visualizations of our data set. Just as importantly as those visualizations are the summary statistics that are over here on the right. We see there is our mean value, 19.813. And you can see that StatKey has rounded that to the third decimal place. And there's our median value of 19.5 from earlier. So StatKey gives us a really wonderful way of doing some efficient analysis and calculation of data sets. We can do that analysis with data sets from the textbook, as we saw, but we can also make an Excel file and upload it and analyze it. Just remember that to do that, it's important to save your file, your Excel file in the .csv format, and then you're going to use the Upload File menu option or button near the top here. So I hope this video has been informative to you and helpful in terms of learning about how to use StatKey to do analysis and calculations for quantitative variables.